Hey, I am Dragonfly Jones, aka America is Musty.
I am the Jethro Jenkins, aka John.
I'm Gardy B, and this is the Jenkins Jonez YouTube channel. We've got fresh YouTube exclusives dropping every week. Like and subscribe so you make sure you get everything in your feed. For Shar and I's 40th birthday, we bought ourselves a record player. And I think I was talking on here about, there's a lot of science behind this, but when you have too many options, your brain has no options. And so Shar and I were both people who cared deeply about music and about books. Our whole life has been a big part of our relationship. When we didn't have any money, the place we would go hang out was a bookstore. And we would call it a bookstore date. We would go for 3 hours, look at books, usually not have the money to buy anything, whatever. But music to me used to be, as we've discussed several times on this show, as y'all talked about with the Schoolboy Q album, it used to be the most special thing in my life. Almost, it felt like that you would be so excited to get a new CD. I'd go to Amoeba and look for an older CD, whatever. And then you would have that physical object. You would be excited about it. You would open it and look at the booklet. I would read all the whatever in there, all this other shit. Then we had an iPod, which was like the digital version of that. And I was obsessive about getting all my mix CDs and playlists on the iPod. So I had all that shit with me. That also felt very cool. Then the streaming services started, and I feel like I basically stopped listening to music.
Oh, wow.
I still listen to stuff, but it's like, oh, I want to listen to that album, and I would bring it out. There is no comparable browsing experience for me on streaming services that has anything like that special feeling or whatever. So you might still have it around a new release, but I was missing that. And so that's why we said, let's just start over. Like, let's just get a record player. Neither of us ever had one before. And like, I don't feel good listening to CDs now. That feels like, I don't know, like ex-girlfriend or so, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing there anymore. Like, that phased out when we were in college, basically. So we got a record player, and then we got the fun experience of picking out the first thing that we were going to buy and like bring home or whatever. We let the kids pick out an album too. They picked out a Miley Cyrus album because that's Maya's favorite, person. So so my question to you guys, I'll tell the story of what I did is if you're in that situation, John, I know you already have a record player, Tyler Jackson, you're cooler than me. You guys probably do too. But like, if you're starting a music collection over, what would your first thing be? Is it something that's sentimental, or is it something that you could listen to 100 times without getting tired of it? My pick was Dookie by Green Day because that was the first CD that I bought. So that felt symbolic to me. It's also something like I'm trying to get the kids to listen to a little bit more. They listen to mostly like pop stuff because that's kind of what's around them. So I went with Dookie. And yeah, I listened to it. I don't know. We've had it for a week. I've listened to the album 4 times. I don't know the last time I listened to an album 4 times in a week. It was probably when I was still on some kind of physical media. So, but anyway, what would your first record be if you're restarting over with physical media for the first time right now?
That's a good question. I remember during like my high school days, this was like my favorite music setup I ever had, where I had my mama got like a new stereo system, so she let me have her old stereo system. Big bulky motherfucker, right?
Yeah,
some shit from the 80s. It was
that big ass knob, the volume and shit.
Right. The deck was big as fuck, and it was on my dresser. The deck was about 2 feet tall, about 3 feet wide, about fucking 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Had some house speakers that were like 3 feet tall. And of course you remember back then, if you had some speaker wire and you had some other speakers, you could plug that shit in and it would still play. And so I had like some little baby speakers that I like wrapped around my room, so I gave myself like surround sound. And I had a black light with the glow in the dark stars on the ceiling.
Oh, you going crazy,
bro? Yes, and I remember playing Aaliyah, One in a Million, for the first time with all that shit at its peak powers, with the black light on, with my stars glowing, and hearing that. Just like to hear, for one, Aaliyah's One in a Million, which is some shit we had never heard before, right? And to just hear that and hear the surround sound of the crickets and shit, I was like, bro, I don't know if music is ever going to feel any cooler than this to me. So there's a part of me that says I would probably try to recapture that, but there's a part of me that also is like, I will never be able to recapture that. You know what I'm saying? And especially on vinyl, because the kind of appeal of Aaliyah's music was, it was futuristic. It was some shit that we had never quite heard before, and it still holds up today. Like fucking 26 years later. It's still some shit that, feels like it's from the future. So, I mean, I would probably try to see if I could recapture that with Aaliyah, but I might just go with like D'Angelo's Voodoo because I feel like,
Bro, that's mine.
Yeah. Because D'Angelo's Voodoo, like, I think it's a perfect vinyl album because I think the thing about the appeal of vinyl is, that analog sound, it's so warm. It feels like you're in the room. It feels like the music hugs you, right? And Voodoo translated that way, even on CD, even in a digital media when it first dropped, because, he had recorded that at Ladyland, Jimi Hendrix's old studio, and he wanted it to sound like some shit from the 70s, right? He didn't want, the acoustics drowned out and all those all those precautions that were put in to kind of, make music sound like it was from 2000 instead of 1976. He wanted that shit to sound like a Jimi Hendrix album as far as the little things. So Voodoo would probably be my pick for vinyl.
Voodoo's my favorite album of all time, so I would definitely choose Voodoo. But speaking of why you listen to that album multiple times, it could be nostalgia, whatever, but there's like science behind like our iPods, like, I mean, not iPods, like this digital music.
Yeah.
It sounds the exact same every time. And it's
Right.
the first time where you listen to it and it just sounds the exact same every time. Even in CDs, there'd be little scratches. And vinyl, the scratches that pick up. So just like subconsciously, your brain picks it up. So it does sound a little different. And they say that's maybe why we don't listen to albums as much over and over and over, because it's, you know what I'm saying? Also,
we also used to listen to music in different places. You would listen to the same, Aaliyah song on TV, on MTV.
Yeah.
You would listen to it on your CD. You would hear it in the car. So you would hear it in the right. Whereas now it's kind of like everyone's got their headphones.
And they're all different experiences too. The car is a very different experience than
right.
anywhere else listening to music. You know what I'm saying? But like what Tyler said about vinyl, 100% right. Like my favorite albums, I would buy Schoolboy Q's album on vinyl, and I probably will if he offers it, because it does have a lot of like the tones that Tyler's talking about.
It's a lot of stripped down soul and shit on there.
Exactly.
Sure.
So like I would definitely do that. But my favorite albums are jazz albums, bro. Like jazz sounds so good on vinyl. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Like with next album, I think you should get it to be a jazz album. But my first
the next album I'm getting for sure is that Cannonball Adderley album I talk about all the time. That's my favorite album, probably of my 30s.
I think Kind of Blue, and it goes crazy.
Yeah.
Miles Davis Kind of Blue goes crazy.
Being at your house, by the way, was what pushed me over the edge on like, you know what? We have the money to just rebuy some things that we like. You know what I mean? If it feels fun and exciting. But it was cool coming home with the kids. The kids had never seen an album insert before.
Right.
They'd never seen it before. They pulled it out and were like, the lyrics are on this. I was like, yeah. We used to have a fucking society, bro.
The booklet, right. Also, speak to Tyler's fact that, like, talking about Aaliyah, you can't recreate it. I don't know if it's just because of the sound, but Aaliyah in the 90s was just like a fucking bro. Like, it was
Mary was like Mary was the queen of R&B. Aaliyah was the princess, bro. She was that big, man. She was huge,
insane. Like it was. I mean, I don't know. Do people still do this? I remember all my homegirls were like memorizing all the choreography to Aaliyah songs. Like they'd be in the lunchroom doing the playing the music, doing the dances. You know what I'm saying? Like before school and shit. Or you know what I mean? Or it was just real. She was just so different. I remember when she passed, it was like, it's not possible.
Yeah, it didn't feel real, bro.
It's not possible. This couldn't have happened. It has to be a lie. She's too big, too important. You know what I mean? To everybody. Like, she was cool to the dude. We thought she was bad, but we also thought she was cool.
Right.
Like, niggas want, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she could be the homie. You feel what I'm saying? Like, she was so different, bro. She was a supernova. Yeah. So I don't know if you can repeat that, because the feeling of Aaliyah during that time was, it was so palpable. You know what I mean? Like, just her existence. Anyway.
Yeah, she was huge.
Jackson?
An icon.
Yep,
bro.
for sure.
Jackson, do you have a record player?
Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers who deposit $5 or more can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 back in a bonus bet.
Bron and the Lakers are looking a little better, so I'm excited to see how they do coming out of All-Star break with some big games against the Warriors and the Suns coming up.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code Jenkins. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Jenkins, Jenkins. The crown is yours.